represent for the West Coast, uptown and back down, and everybody scattered with improper grammar. I represent for the West Coast, uptown and back down, and everybody scattered with improper grammar. Kick back the big track, I flip stacks.
Hey, what's up, man? So this part of my journey is beginning here, but I know it's gonna have an end. I'm not one of those folk who like being online too much, so I know this has a beginning point for me, and I know it's gonna have an end, but bear with me. I think it's gonna be great for everybody who's involved. Thank you for coming. Thank you for looking at this. Thank you for even sharing your time with me. I want to say something. I know people start off by saying, oh, here's why you should listen to me. I'm not gonna do that, right? I just want you to just hear me out. I remember one time I was driving in Sacramento with some of my friends, and we were having this deep conversation, and we were going to a club that was crazy. We were going to a club, we were having a deep conversation, and my friend told me something that I heard before, but that night it just hit me a little differently. He said, don't bring up a problem without having a solution, or have the beginnings of a solution, right? Like, so why come up with a problem if you're just gonna talk it without finding some sort of solution? Well, I studied psychology a little bit, and in my studying, I was looking for a particular solution for a reason, and I found one. I found a solution, and I want to share that solution with you. But this conversation that we're having right now, I'm gonna also tell you the problem that framed my mind so I could actually find the solution to the problem. But I'm gonna start by showing you the solution, or the beginning of it. I'm not going to share it fully because I don't do workshops, I don't do seminars, and there's a reason for that. But I will share with you the beginning, and the beginning is enough curiosity for you to want to stick around. So I'm going to show you the solution, and then I'm going to tell you the problem as I have framed it. Here's the solution. I'm trying to get this up in the camera, zooming up. Well, come on, get me. Come on, boom. All right. So y'all see that? The core four sequence: attention, energy, skills, thoughts, right? All right. So here are the questions. There are 3 questions that I ask when I introduce this to someone. And first, let me say this, because I know that some of my colleagues who would think like, oh, am I saying that the brain is actually sectioned off like this? Is it really like a puzzle? No, it's not. And the fact that some of my colleagues actually feel like I'm saying that just tells you what they think about me. Anyway, we'll talk about that too. That's somewhere in the framing. But anyway, so here's the core four sequence. These 4 things: attention, energy, skills, thoughts. No, it's not anatomically correct. I'm not saying that thoughts are in the top part of your brain, and I'm not saying that. It's just a concept. Anyway, so there are 3 questions that I ask to introduce people to this, and I do not answer the questions. It's really kind of Socratic in a way, like I'm just asking questions. And so the first question is, can you move without activating all 4? And so right now you're probably watching this on your laptop or your cell phone. So think about getting up from where you are and walking, or even dropping your cell phone if you need be. So can you move or do anything without activating all 4? If you say you can move without activating all 4, my question to you is, which one of these do you think you do not need in order to move? That's questions that you gotta answer. If you feel like, you know what, no, I need all 4 in order to move, so I cannot move without activating all 4. The second question is, it's kind of like inverse, right? It's asking you, so if you are moving, are you telling me that these 4 are active? So like when you got up this morning and you went and brushed your teeth, hopefully, right? You took a shower, hopefully. You ate breakfast, got into the car, train, whatever you did. Are you telling me that when you're moving, these 4 are active? If you're saying, no, I don't think so, then tell me which one you're not using. And if you said, yes, when I'm moving, these 4 are active. Okay, so you're saying that these 4 are actually governing how you actually move or behave. So the third question is, this is your core 4 sequence. Who controls you? Those are the questions. And that's the introduction to this. And We actually go more over here. We have curated conversations that we could go into. We go into group discussions about values. We could go into anything, really. It's a great tool that I use for uh, having conversations that's going to be very unique and interesting conversations. And we could go into a whole lot of different things. Wherever you want to go, you go into mental training. You could go into interpersonal communication. How do you communicate? How do you actually understand how to process your experiences? And so that's the solution, or this is the beginning of a solution. Here's the problem as I see it. And the problem came to me from it's a deep family issue. And I'm going to be very general, right? I grew up in the Virgin Islands. This is actually, that logo is the logo of the flag, the Virgin Island flag, if you ever see it. That's it, right? I grew up in the Virgin Islands. In the Virgin Islands, there's a portion of my family that went through some really tough times. My father we had a gas station when we were in the islands. My uncle had it before him. My uncle died there. He got murdered. Gun. My other uncle, who was actually working at the gas station with us as well, he got shot. And I remember this very, very keenly, because I remember when the cops, my uncle got shot in his back. And so his blood kind of leaked into the money. He had his money in the pockets from the gas station. And so when the cops gave us back the money, I remember being a kid and peeling the money off of each other because the blood had dried up and dried the money together and it stuck together. I remember the scent. To this day, I do. I know what it smells like. Blood and money. I had another cousin there who got shot. There was another guy from the neighborhood who got shot there as well. Myself, my mother, and my sister. We had guns drawn on us and stuff like that. So from all those experiences, and the last one, the one that kind of like took the cake for me, was my father. My father was closing a station one night, and some people ran up on him, jumped in his truck to try to like bounce, and they sprayed up his truck, and he got hit on his leg and he lost his leg. And so it was around there that I began to really just focus in on psychology. There's a couple of things you can do. This is not what this is about, but him being shot focused me into something, because I could easily blame a whole lot of different things for it, right? And one of the things I just needed to understand is, like, how does the mind work? Because what I couldn't get is that one of the guys who did it knew him. Now, for some reason, I can understand someone trying to get you, like, somebody trying to run up on you, try to rob you. In my psyche, I get that. But I couldn't get someone knowing him and actually shoot. Like, they shot up his truck. And that didn't seem like no robbery to me. And I couldn't understand, like, why I try to kill him. But then again, they killed my uncle too. So that made me go into psychology in a way where I was looking for a solution, right? Like, so what is it that makes somebody see hopelessness or see something that they would like to have more than anything for them to do something like that with someone that they don't know, or someone that they know enough to not do that but still do it? And so that's where the impetus for me going into psychology came from. Because the problem for me wasn't just in the person alone, it's interactions. It's how do communities interact with government? How do individuals interact with individuals, right? How does families interact with communities, right? And all this interaction that was happening, and that's where my mind was. And I began to just very in a cursory way, just in a general way, just looking at it, and I'm like, man, okay. And it seems like it's a mindset situation. And we can go very, very, very deep on this. And I know this is the beginning. If what I'm doing here has a beginning and an end, then I'm going to call it a book. So let's say I'm doing a book, but in video form. And so this is kind of prologue, and this is like the first part of the prologue, and we can go deeper in some of the things that I'm going to say here, not about the solution, but about the problem. Because I find some of the problems to be the idea that we have this consumeristic mindset. And that's deeply entrenched in how I understand the historical arc of economic development, right? And so we could talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that now, but it's very interesting to me. And it's the reason or the thing that kind of pushed me. So if I were to say that there's a theme that's going to be, or the thread that's going to be in everything that I'm going to say, even though it may not be overt, it may not be something that's directly there, I can share it by giving you two stories. And the two stories are when my father taught me how to drive stick shift, like a standard. And the other story was when I was working at a group home. So here are these two stories. And I think a theme can be found in both of these stories, and we could, have this conversation as we move forward after this video. So the group home one. When I was working at a group home out in California, I don't know if all group homes are like this, and I'm sure like we have some certain consequences. So there are levels that you get in the group home. So level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the kid to go through, for the youth to go through. And when they get to 5, they get home visits. Kids love that, right? They work hard and get certain behavioral, change the behavior enough, develop the behavior enough to get to different levels if they can sustain behavior for a length of time. When you get to level 5, you're able to get home passes. You get to go home. You get to see your partners and all that, right? So you get to go home and chill out. But there's something that can happen that can take away your home access, especially when you start getting on level 5 and you've been going home for like a couple of weekends, and then now you're probably close to getting out. If you get in trouble, right, especially when you get in that level, then they don't expect certain troubles from you. But if you get in trouble, you can get something called like consequences, which would be like days of doing chores. But if a weekend comes and you still have days, you lose your weekend access. And so this kid was on level 5, if I'm not mistaken, and he had a bad day. A real bad day, and he had a whole bunch of days. You're talking about 100 and something. He just couldn't. The more people gave him days, the more he just got irate, right? And because he knew he was on level 5, he knew because of the days he had, they may bump him down, and it's going to bump him down a level, and it's going to take longer for him to get out. And so he's just frustrated. And usually when kids get frustrated like that, what they want to do is run. And so they, you see signs when somebody wants to run. Say, if we're home, they came from school and we're at home, and they're like dressing up, putting on clothes, and not just in like relaxing, like shorts or whatever. He's about to run. He's about to think about running. So I see this kid, he's all dressed, and he goes outside. He's pouting, he's mad. The first instinct for us counselors is to try to control the situation, right? And so I go outside, and I tell him, look, I know you're thinking about running. I know you got a whole lot of days, but here's what I need you to know. I don't care what you choose. You can run or you can stay, but I want you to choose it. I don't want your emotions to choose it. I don't care which one you choose, but I want you to choose, right? And whenever you make that decision, I gave him a paper, and I said, like, just put, pros and cons of staying, pros and cons of going. And if you do choose to actually go, I'm gonna look outside, and if you're not here, then I know you chose to go. And I'm gonna give you like 10, 15 minutes, but I will call the cops, but I give you 10, 15 minutes to kind of get away, get your plan right. You know what I mean? Because I need you to know that whatever you decide, I'm happy that you actually decided and it wasn't some sort of like crazy feeling. I'm not sure if that was the right thing to do, but it's just what I was feeling. And so I went back inside and I said, listen, man, I respect your decision as long as you're deciding it. And I'm with you. And I go back inside. A couple minutes later, he comes in. He ain't write nothing down in the paper, but he just says, okay, let me just do what needs to be done. That's the story. He came in, he didn't run, and he just dealt with the consequences of the things that he was doing. That's the one story. Here's the second story. And after I tell the second story, I'm gonna tell you how it kind of like makes the second story. My father taught me how to drive a standard. I was still in high school, and we was at the gas station, and he said, hey, you want to learn how to drive? And I'm like, of course. So I get in, and just like anybody who's driving stick shift, you cut out a couple of times. Why? You got to learn that thing with the clutch and the gas and all that. Man, I just remembered something. My father, just to say this, my father passed away just last year in November. And so that just even beginning talking about it kind of hit me a little bit different. But so he was teaching me how to drive standard. He's like, yo, learn, boom. I messed up. I rode the clutch a couple times. And then he asked me something that was crazy. This is the first time I've ever got behind the truck, driving standard. And he says, hey, you want to drive home? And I'm like, what? You sure? He says, yes, okay. I'll drive home. I'll drive home. Now, for those who don't know, St. Thomas is hilly. We going home around afternoon time when everybody else is going home. And so we got to a portion of the drive where I'm going up in the hill. And it just so happened, it was going good. You could just put it in first gear and just hit the gas and go and you'd be all right, right? It just so happened we had traffic on the hill that day and I had to stop. And so I stopped. And so somebody's in front of me and somebody's directly behind me. And I look at my pops and I'm like, okay, you want to take over? He didn't say nothing to me. He just looked at me and was like, drive. He just looked at me to get that feeling like, yo, go ahead, do what you're doing. So the guy in front of me goes, and I try to go, and it cuts out, and it comes back a little bit. I started up again, and I'm looking at him, and he's not even looking at me. What do I do? Oh, what happened? That's the day I learned to drive standard. That's the day I learned to drive standard. And what do I feel like those two stories have together, right? And it's this. What my father taught me in that moment, man, is that he's not trying to tell me, he knows what he would like me to do, what he would want me to actually do. He doesn't want me to go and hit the car behind me. He wants me to do the right thing, but he's not saying anything. And all he's doing is sitting with me. He's not getting out of the truck. He's with me. So regardless of what the situation is, whether I drive or I hit, he's with me. And that, I guess, released me to do the thing that needed to be done. And that's the same type of thing I see with the group home. The group home youth, I didn't try to control his decision. I let him choose, but he knew I was with him with whatever decision he makes. Whatever decision he makes, I'm with you. I'm not trying to control you, and I'm not going to change what I would actually like you to do. I know what I want you to do. But regardless of what you do, I'm with you. I'm with you. That theme, not trying to control, I'm not going to change what I would like, but I'm with you, is the theme that I think you'll hear in anything that I'm going to say going forward. And it's the reason why this isn't the solution that I have. It's not a seminar. It's not a workshop. This isn't the solution alone. It comes with the idea that, and the reason I don't do workshops or seminars is because I'm with you. I'm with you. And it means something. Interpersonal relationships, interpersonal interactions, and understanding like who you are as a person means a lot. And it means a lot to communities. It means a lot to the relationship between government and communities and neighborhoods, individuals within families and communities, right? Because what is it about the situation at the gas station when my uncle died, my father got shot, health deteriorated until he died last year, other family members being shot, me being shot? What's the relationship here? There's something that's missing, and oftentimes, and we find solutions that attempt to only be external, like, okay, let me try to stop you. Let's try to get it from policy down and not from within the person out. And giving them a bigger understanding of like, what are we doing and what's the journey that we're on and what does it mean to be with? And so this is the first part of my prologue. I don't want to go more than what's happening right here. And so the next time you hear me talking, I'm probably going to go a little bit more deeper into what I find to be the dynamics of community as I see it. I'm not even saying that what I'm saying is right. I'm just saying this is just what I see, right? It's just who I am, and it's the reason why I know there are people who are telling me, and there are a lot of my friends who see me talk about this, and what they want me to do is, you need to scale it and, business talk. This didn't start, me looking for a solution didn't start because I wanted economic reward. Although I'm gonna try to make some money. I ain't stupid. But not everything needs to be capitalized. Some things can be sacred. Some things can be sacred. Even with anyway, that's gonna be another video. This is the intro and so the adventure begins. All right, listen, thanks for taking the time to listen. I look forward to seeing who's gonna journey with me, who's with me, who understands, who hears what I'm saying in the depths of their heart, who hears what I'm saying, who understands or feels community so deeply that understand, listen, there has to be this understanding of width. There has to be some sort of thing that can be easily shared within a community that has some sort of grounding, a fundamental grounding that can help people understand how to talk with each other and see how that goes. Anyway, that's it. I'm not extra talking. Virgin
back down and everybody scattered with improper grammar. I represent for the West Coast, uptown and back down and everybody scattered with improper grammar. Kick back the big track, I flip stacks and double. I make scraps to get racks, or big sacks to fumble. I whip rap to get that, no lip smack, I'm humble.